Good morning, everyone. In this session, we will discuss about how to copy files using getMetadata activity, filter activity, and for each activity. Till now, we have covered only copy activity. Today, we are going to cover getMetadata activity, filter activity, and for each activity. Okay, why we require these activities, how these activities work. We'll see all those things. Okay. By the end of this session, you all get to know what are parameters, how to use parameters, what is getMetadata activity, what is filter activity, what is for each activity, how can we use all these activities, and also we will see the difference between debug and trigger. While running a pipeline, till now we have used a debug option. We have also something option called trigger. How this trigger option works, we'll also cover that. Okay, we'll cover all those things today. And scenario. Okay, how to copy file based on a file name from input container to output. Let us say there are multiple files. Yesterday we have covered one scenario. If we have multiple files, we need to pick only some files based on their file name. Okay, maybe it is starting with some name or ending with some file formats. Specifically, if you want to pick the file based on the file name, so how we can pick the only those files and how can we copy destination? We have already seen yesterday. In today's topic also we can see how to copy files based on a file name, but in a different approach. Okay, we'll cover that, and you can also get to know how to copy CSV files from input container to output container. If you have different file formats, how can you bring only CSV files? Okay, so these kind of scenarios you may come across in the real time. These are kind of scenarios. Okay, whatever we have covered yesterday, the same thing we are doing here, but in a different way by using all these activities. Okay, so we'll quickly cover scenario so that you'll get a clear understanding. So let us say I'm having an input folder in my source. Let us say my source is a blob storage. Blob storage contains all these file names. Okay, so these file names: JSON main.json, JSON sample.json, ODI data, T20 data, test main. So like this, I'm having all these files in my input. Now, out of these files, I just want to pick only the files that are ending with a CSV. Okay, or else I just want to pick only files that are starting with the test. So let us say I want to copy only files that are starting with the test. So these two are the files that are starting with the name test. So out of all these files, I want to bring only these two files. So in this type of scenarios, whatever we have coded yesterday, in that way you can copy the files. But I don't want to do in that way. I want to copy the files dynamically. Okay, so how can we copy those files dynamically? We will cover that. Okay, now we have something called getMetadata activity. GetMetadata activity help us to retrieve the metadata information of all the files. Okay, what do you mean by metadata? For example, there is a file. So what is the file name? What is the file type? Is it a type like a folder or a file? And what is the last modified date? Whether the file exists or not? All this is the metadata information. Metadata in the sense data about data. So metadata activity gives us the metadata information of the files. Means all the information about the files it will give us. Okay. By using a get metadata activity, we can get a data set, and there is something called field list child items. By using a child items field list, we can read all the file names. So out of all these 6 files, if I want to bring only the file name starting at the test, first of all, I should know what is the file name. If I don't know what is the file name, I don't know which file I want to bring. So that is the reason by using a get metadata activity, we read the metadata information of all the files. Metadata information in the sense, what is the file name, what is the file type. So all this information we read by using a get metadata activity, and we'll get the all the file names. So once you get all the file names, then we use a filter activity. So before that, so whatever you have the data, after getting the data from get metadata activity output, we need to pass all this information to the filter activity. Then only we can filter the data. How can we pass get metadata activity output to the filter activity is in this way. So we will take get metadata activity output dot child items. All these things will be treated as a child items. So output dot child items. So in this way, we will pass get metadata activity output to the filter activity. So once filter activity is having this information, now all this information is passed to a filter activity by using this. Now filter activity is having this data. So from this data, we will filter file names that are starting with the test. So out of all these 6 files, wherever the file name is starting with the test, I want to bring only those files. So out of all these 6 files, only 2 files are starting with the name test, right? So only these 2 files will come. Now see here what filter activity is saying. Initially we have 6 files. After the filter activity, we are retrieving only 2 files. The other 4 files is got filtered out. So now only these 2 files is with us. This is going to pass to the copy activity to copy to the destination. Okay. So before we give it to the copy activity, we have something called for each activity. So why we use for each activity is to iterate the items one by one. Okay. Let me show you how the for each activity works. Okay, if anyone has some basic knowledge, okay, if anyone has some basic knowledge in C or Python, see how it works. So we are having a list of items 1, 2, 3. So if you want to display output for all this 1, 2, 3, we can't display all 1, 2, 3 at a time. You need to print one by one. Okay. So now if I print this, see 1, 2, 3 will be stored in I. So we're going to print that one by one. So in the output, what we'll get is first 1 will come, next 2 will come, next 3 will come. So in such a way, if we're having a list of arrays, so 1 will go to here and will print 1 first. 2 will go to here, 2 will print next. 3 will go here and 3 will print next. So in such a way, you are printing one by one. So you can't print all at a time to the output. The same thing happened here in Azure Data Factory also. First, we'll store all these things into for each activity and we'll print one by one. The same thing is happening here also. Okay. So once the filter activity is filtered, these are the items we have. We can't pass 2 items at a time to the copy activity. For that reason, we are giving it to the for each activity first. See here, for each activity, how we are passing output to the for each activity. The same way, how we pass the get data activity output to the filter activity, the same way we are passing filter activity output to the for each activity in this way at the rate of activity filter dot output dot values. So now this is stated as a values. So the values we are passing here. So these are all treated as a child items. We are passing the child items to the filter. In the same way, these are treated as a values. We are passing it to for each activity. So this for each activity help us to iterate one by one item. So first test data will go, it will give the copy activity. Next test main will go, it will give the copy activity. Like that, if we have multiple, like if we have more than 10 files also, one by one will go and give to the copy activity. Okay. So this is the scenario. Starting from here till copy activity. By the time the files reach to copy activity, we have only 2 files. Okay. Now I can also change the condition here. So I am using here starts with. I can also use a ends with. So if I give ends with file name dot if I give CSV, so all the file names ending with a CSV will be filtered out. Okay. So basically this filter activity we are using to filter the file names based on the file name. Okay. So if you want to start with, so file name starts with only filtered out. If you want to give ends with only file for such particular file formats will be filtered out. So we have also something called contains. So anywhere the file name is having somewhere, suppose if I give data, contains data. So anywhere you having data in the file name that will be filtered out. So ODI data, test data, data, all these three files as having a name contains a data. See data. So in such a way we can filter the file names, the required file names based on our requirement, and we can give to the copy activity. So this in this way we will do a copying the files based on the file name by using a dynamic approach. Okay. So is this clear? Did you got at least some understanding? What is the scenario we're going to cover? Okay, so if you're not able to understand noises, so while covering a lab session, you'll get some understanding. But at least did you got some understanding now?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll start a lab session and we'll see how it works. Okay, I will use the same approach, like I will use blob storage for my input, LHN2 for output, and Azure Data Factory for migrating the data. So only these three services we will also cover today. So first of all, I will get Azure Data Factory, can create. So one thing, like if anyone has already started creating a free tail, so no need to create a free tail each and every one. So free tail will give you 14,000 free credits. So one person cannot finish all those 14,000 credits. So my suggestion is, instead of each and everyone creating a free tail account, create one account and 3 to 4 people can use the same account. So those who has already created, they can share those credentials to 2 to 3 persons, and they can 2 to 3 persons can use the same credentials. So once after 28 days, it will be expired. The free tail will be expired. So don't, after the free tail is expired, don't use that free tail. And out of these 3 or 4 people, someone else create a new account. So in such a way, you can form a group of 3 to 4 people and use one account for 3 to 4 months. Sorry, we use one account for 3 to 4 people. Once that is expired, the other person can create a new account. In such a way, you can practice it for 3 to 4 months, right? So, but if each and everyone is creating a free tail account, you will get a lot of credentials that that is like it has a lot of credits. You cannot finish all the schedules like if you're practicing alone. So if you form a 3 to 4 people as a group, so all the people using the same account for 28 days, the next person can create a new account. All 3-4 persons can again use the same account. In such a way, you can practice it. Okay. Then, how to track whether the account you are creating the correct or not. So after your account is created, go to subscriptions. The free tail should be active. Okay. And if you open the free tail account, from when to when you have created, when it will expire, the billing period will be here. Okay. So based on that, you'll get to know like so you're working on free tail account only. Okay, see like this, when it is created, when it will expire, everything you can see. Also, there is one option called here upgrade to pay as you go subscription. Don't use this option. Never use this option. If you use this option, your account will be upgraded to premium. Your credit card will be linked to premium and amount will be deducted from your credit card. So do not go to this subscription plan. Always use only free tail plan. Okay, this clear? Let's coming back to today's topic. So I'll start creating Azure Data Factory first. Click on Azure Data Factory. Okay. So resource group name, I will name it as a resource 11. That will be my resource group name. And data factory name, I will name it as ADF 11. Okay, this is available. Git configure later. Review plus create it. Let's create it. Okay. The validation is passed. The deployment is in progress. In the meantime, I will create a storage account, that is blob storage. Click on create. Resource group name resource 11. This is what I have created. So I'm creating this blob storage under the same resource group. Blob storage name, I will name it as a blob 11. No other things to change here for blob storage. I'll simply click on review plus create it. Okay, the deployment is in progress. In the meantime, I will also create a less gen 2. The same way, change the resource group name to resource 11. This I will name it as a ADLS 11. Okay. What is the one extra step we need to do for creating ADLS Gen 2 storage account?
Hierarchical namespace.
Hierarchical namespace.
So we need to go to advanced tab and we need to enable a hierarchical namespace. That's the only thing we need to do. So click on review and create it. Okay, let's create it. Okay, so this is getting created. Deployment is in progress. Now what we do, we'll go to home page. We'll click on resource group. This is the resource group we have created, resource 11. We will see whether all our services are getting created or not. Azure Data Factory is created, blob storage is created, ADLS Gen 2 is getting created. In the meantime, we'll discuss some intro questions. Can anyone tell what is integration runtime and what are its types? What is integration runtime? How many types of integration runtimes are there?
Integration runtime is the compute infrastructure used by ADF actually. So it accesses the various data integration capabilities across different things, different network environments, like from cloud to cloud and private network to cloud network. the integration runtime actually.
What
So
are the types?
means type means auto IR. It is nothing but auto resolve integration runtime. Auto- and self-hosted IR and Azure SSIR. These are the three things which we have discussed earlier. Integration runtime.
Why we use auto resolve IR?
Sorry.
Why do we use auto resolve IR?
Auto resolve IR is the nothing but auto IR. It is used to copy data from cloud to cloud only.
Okay.
Yes.
Others, why do we use self-hosted IR? Why do we use Azure SSIS IR?
Self-host IR means is copy the data from on-premises to cloud actually.
Correct.
From private network to cloud network.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moving to next question. Can anyone tell what are triggers? What are the types of triggers we have?
Triggers are used to run a pipeline without manual execution. And types are scheduled trigger and event-based trigger and turn no window trigger.
Okay. Suppose I'm having a container. Whenever a file arrives to that container, trigger should run. So what kind of trigger we will use?
Schedule trigger.
I'm repeating question again. I'm having a container. Whenever a file arrives into that container, trigger should run.
Event-based trigger.
Event-based trigger.
Okay. So it is a event-based trigger. I'm having a pipeline. I want to run that pipeline every Monday, 9 a.m. What kind of trigger do you use?
The schedule trigger.
Schedule trigger. Okay. And what is the difference between schedule trigger and tumbling window trigger?
Schedule trigger, it executes pipeline when it's the wall clock time actually. When we given the time to the schedule, the time only the schedule trigger will execute. Tumbling trigger window, tumbling trigger means it will the periodic time when we given that some time to the trigger, that the time only it will executes in the time limit.
Yes, correct. Okay. So these are the some of the interview questions. This kind of questions only they will ask the interview. Okay. If someone doesn't know the answers, so please go through this recording video once again and at least practice and try to answer these questions. Okay. So in the session 1, we have covered some interview questions. In session 2, also we have covered some interview questions. Today also we will cover some interview questions. So daily we are covering some at least 2 to 3 interview questions. You should be prepared with all those interview questions. Okay. Now coming back to the today's topic. So we have created Azure Data Factory ADF to blob storage. So as I told, I'm using a blob storage as my input, as my source. So I will set up a source first. Let's open blob storage. Okay, I'm having a containers here. Today I'm going to give the name as a, you can give anything name like input, source, root, anything you can give. So I'm going to give it as a input only. So I'm having an input folder. In the input folder, I'm going to maintain some files. Okay, so whatever we discuss, the files, the same files I'm going to maintain. Okay, so let us say I'm having all these files in the source. In the source input folder, I'm having all these files. Based on the file names, I want to pick the files, only particular files based on the file name. I want to copy to the destination dynamically. This is a dynamic approach. Okay. Yesterday we have done that is a hard coded approach. We just hard coding that and we are sending it, but it is a dynamic approach. Okay. Also, I will open Atlassian 2. Will also set up output. So where I want to move the data, where I want to copy the data. So I'll be having an output folder. To this output folder, I'm going to copy the data. We can't create it. Okay. See, output folder is created. So input setup and output setup is done now. As we're talking about the blob storage is source contains the input folder, contains some files, and this output folder, ALS Gen 2 is having an output. So copying data from input to output. Basically, we're copying data from one storage account to another storage account. Now, that is the input and output setup. Now I'm going to use Azure Data Factory for building a pipeline. Okay, so as I told, all this setup you won't do in the real time, like storage accounts, files, everything will be available. Our main work is to work on Azure Data Factory. Okay, so for practice purpose, we set up all those things. Okay, now the next thing what we need to do is like if you're having a data available in blob storage or headless chain 2, we need to create a connection to those storage accounts first. So that is the reason I'm creating a linked services. Okay, so the very first thing we'll create a linked service for source, that is a blob storage. So I'm creating a linked service for blob storage. Let me tell you a linked service for blob. Okay, so integration runtime we have discussed already. This account key will discuss in the upcoming sessions. So right now I'm using a subscription free trial storage account. What is our storage account? Blob 3011 is the storage account we have created for source. Test connection, and connection is successful, then we can create it. See, connection is successful. Let's create it. Okay, so in this way I have created a linked service for blob storage. I will also create a linked service for ADF Gen 2. Okay, continue. Linked service for Gen 2, or you can give ADLS, anything, another one, can give anything. Okay, then other subscription free trial storage account name, I will name it as a what? ADLS 3011 is our ADLS Gen 2 storage account name. Test connection is created. Okay, so we have created linked service for blob storage. We have also created linked service for ADLS Gen 2. So I think everyone is now comfortable with creating a linked services. From last 3 days, we are doing the same thing. If anyone has still doubts, he can ask. Is it clear, right? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so we will move to the author tab. Today, what I do is I am not going to create a data set from here today. I will create directly data sets from the pipeline itself. Okay, anything is same. Either you are creating a data set from pipeline, or you are creating a data set from here. Everything is same. So today I am not getting data sets from here. I'm going to create data sets directly from the pipeline. So click on new pipeline. I will name this as a pipeline for dynamic copy. Okay. So as per the scenario we have discussed, what is the first activity we need to use?
Copy activity.
Not a copy activity. Just now we have discussed the scenario.
Get metadata.
Get metadata activity. So get metadata activity you can find somewhere here. See, in the general tab, we find a get metadata activity. Okay, you can also search from here. Like this, you will get a get metadata activity. As I told, get metadata activity is to retrieve the metadata information. So now what kind of metadata information I want is, I want to know the file names. The filter activity should know the file name. Without knowing the file name, filter activity cannot filter the files. If the filter activity knows the file names, then only it will filter the files. Who is going to give the file names? Get metadata activity is going to give the file names. It is easy to read the metadata information and it will give the file names, file type, and all these informations. Okay, so that is the reason we are going to use a get metadata activity. So all the settings like name, description, timeout, return interval is same like you have in the copy activity. Okay, here in the settings, the things will be changed. In the settings, the very first thing it is asking for a data set. Okay, so we have not created any data set yet. So we are going to create a data set from here itself on the fly. Here there is an option called new. So I'm creating a data set for get metadata activity. Click on new. So while creating a data set, it will ask for the source first. So we are having an input data in the blob storage. So I'm using a blob storage here. And then it is asking what kind of file formats you have. I have multiple file formats. I have CSV file formats. I have JSON file formats. So instead of selecting both, you can't select both. So as we are having a CSV file formats also, so I'm selecting this one. Okay. So because we required first as a header option. Okay. So it is asking us the data set name. What is the data set name we want to give? I will name it as a data set for metadata. Basically, this is used for data set for get metadata. So I am giving that name. And it is asking to give the link service name from where you want to pick the data, from which link service you want to pick the data. So we have created a link service for blob that can access to blob 30 level. So whenever I click on this one, it will ask us to pick the files. Now, if I go to inside the input folder, I'm having a lot of files. Now, if you want to get all these files, all this metadata information of these files, we cannot select particular file. So from the data set, you can pick only one of the file. You cannot pick multiple files at a time. So what I do is, I'm not going to pick any file. I will just pick a input folder only. We are not going to pick any of the file here. Okay. First a header and we'll create it. So in such a way, we are creating a data set. That is the data set we are creating for get metadata activity. We are not selecting any of the file. We are selecting only folder. From this folder, I want to read the metadata information of all the files. Okay. So let's create it. Okay. Okay. So whenever you create a data set, now it is asking one more mandatory step like field list. This is the very important for get metadata activity. So from this data set, from the input folder, what metadata information you want. That is what we need to give here in the field list. You'll see what all the field list we have in the get metadata activity. So here you have field list as a child items, field list as a exist, field list as a item name, item type. Okay, we also have we also see we also have last modified date. You can give multiple things also. Last modified date, item name. See, there are a lot of things. So I will quickly see what is the output this will give. what is the output last modified will give, what is the output item name will give. So by using a debug option, we can run it and we can see what the get metadata activity is giving the output. So I'm running here, I click on debug, see it is running. So this is the benefit of having a debug option. Partially with having a partial activities, we can see the output. What is the output we are getting for those activities. See, it got succeeded. We will take this output. Okay, I'm copying this. See here, this is the output. Get metadata output. See, we have selected field list as a last modified. It is giving a last modified. Okay, this is the last modified at 30/11/2022. You can see here this one, the folder. We have selected folder in the data set, right? So it is giving last modified date for this folder. Whatever we have here, that is giving in the output, but it is in the like central time. Okay, and also we have selected item name. Item name it is giving as input. So this is the input folder name. This is giving as item name. Okay, so we also have some other options available here. The field list. This time what I will give is, this time I will give item type. You will debug it. In this way, any kind of information related to file, we can give it by the help of get metadata activity, we can get it. Okay, it got succeeded. Let's take the output. See, now it is giving last modified date, item name, item type. So item type it is showing as a folder. So in such a way, all the information related to the folders, the files, we can get by using a get metadata activity field list. So out of this field list, I also have one more field list as a child items. That is what we require. We will see what the child items is giving. Here it is child items. Okay, we will debug it once again. Now what this child items will give? Any guess? Yeah, it got succeeded. See? What child items is giving us? Can anyone tell by seeing this?
File names.
File names along with the file type. So you can see here item name is a input. But if you see child names, it is giving a file names. So whatever the files inside the input folder, those are the child items. So this is the main item. Input is a main item, that's the item name. So it has inside child items. So the child items option is giving starting from here till here. So it is giving from here to here, that is child items output. So what it is giving? It is giving name, name type, name type, name type. So what we have here, name, ODI data, T20 data. So all the file names that we have in the input folder, basically it is giving all the file names along with the type. What is this? This is the type. Void at CSV, what is the type? This is the file. This is not a folder, this is the file. So it is giving a type as a file. In this way, the child item is helping us to give the metadata information of all the file names that are available in the input folder. So this is helping us to give the file name. If you give these file names to the filter activity can easily get to know, okay, this is the file name. Out of all these file names, I want to filter only some files based on the condition. Okay, so that is the like benefit of having a get metadata activity to read the metadata information. Okay, is this clear to everyone now?
Yes.
Now, from all these things, I don't want all this field list. I want only child items from the field list. So to show you how this works, I just have this also. I'm deleting it now. So right now I'm going to maintain only child items. So child items means only this information will get. Okay. Now, so by using get metadata activity, we have read the like metadata information, which is giving us the file names and the file type. Now I want to filter all these files based on the some condition. So to do that, I need to use a filter activity now. Okay. So before I write a condition, I need to give the get metadata activity output to the filter activity. That's the one thing we need to do. How can we give the get metadata activity output to the filter activity? The very first thing is we need to link get metadata activity output to the filter activity. See in this way. So there are a lot of options. Unsuccessful, we need to run the filter activity. There is other options you can see. On skip. So if you want to skip, we can use this option. So even though if it is success failure, it's not a matter. If you want to skip this thing, you can skip it. You can give it to the filter activity. That's the one thing we have. And other options we have here is on failure. If get metadata activity is failing, then only I want to run the filter activity. In just a question, so you can use this one. And then on completion. So on completing of all this pipeline run, then you want to give it to the filter activity that you can use. So one more option we have is unsuccessful. So basically I want to use this option because whenever a get metadata activity is completed, so immediately I want to run the filter activity. So in such a way we need to give the options, right? So once this get metadata activity is completed, I want to go to the filter activity. So now we came to the filter activity. So in the general settings, we have name, description. So if you want to change the filter activity name here, you can change. See, so whenever I'm editing here, the same thing will be reflected here. Okay. So let it be, we'll go with the filter only. Now in the settings, it is asking the items. Here we are going to pass the get metadata activity output to the filter activity so that all file names will be available here. And then we can write our filter condition based on which filter condition we want to filter the data. Okay. So that is the reason I'm here and I'm going to pass the get metadata activity output to the filter activity to the items here in this place. So how can we pass it? So there has something called add dynamic content. Just click on that. So after clicking that, you can see activity outputs. There is something called get metadata activity output. So if you want to get the get metadata activity output, simply click on this option. See, automatically something else came here at the rate of activity get metadata dot output. It has came from the output. I need to bring again the required things only. From the output, there are a lot of things. From the output, we have last modified. From the output, we have item name, item type. Also, we have child items. Other than this, we have something also. From the output, what is the effective integration runtime we want to know? If you give this one, you'll get the answer as this one. If you give execution duration time, you'll get this as an answer. So like this, based on there are a lot of things in the output. From all of from all these things, what we required here from the get metadata activity output, what we require. Any guess? From the get metadata activity output, what we need to pass to the filter activity? We need child items only, right? So we want to pass the file names only to the filter activity to filter the files based on the file name. So which is where we having a child items, we're having the child items. All these file items are available in the child items. So we need to pass only child items to the filter activity, right? Is this clear?
Yes.
So in this way, we are passing from get metadata activity output, we are passing only the file names information to the filter activity. Where we have file names is available in the child items. So we are giving that is the reason I have given output.child items. So output.child items means starting from here, line number 19 till here, all this information will be passed to the filter activity. Okay. So now this items is having all the data, all the file names information this items is holding now. Now what can I do is I need to give the condition. What is the condition I want to give? So we have a lot of functions available here. From these functions, I want to use one function that's like starts with. Okay, there is one function called starts with. There is one example here. I will cover the example first. How the starts with function is working. See here. Yeah, starts with hello, comma world, comma hello. We'll discuss about this. So all these things I don't want. So I'm deleting this one. Starts with. So there's one quotations. Inside the quotations, you have hello, comma world, and then there's a condition starts. So from this, what is the output we'll get here? So starts with, there is 3 or 4 words. Okay, let us say we have one more word inside the quotations. So if I want to mention like all the names that are starting with H, that only I want to get in the output. So how many things we'll get here? Get hello, you also get hi, right? So if I give here all the names starting with W, how many things I will get in output?
One.
World.
And that is world. We'll get only word one, right? This is how the starts with function works. In the same way, I want to check the file name starting with. So we have these file names already available in the filter activity we are given. So all these file names will come here like one by one. All these file names will come. Right. So in this way, all files names will come. No. So from all these files, I want to bring the file name starting with JSON. How many files I will get? How many file names I will get here in the output?
2.
2. Which 2? This
Yes,
JSON is
Mhm.
JSON sample only will get. For example, if I give here test, how many files will come now? No, two, right? Test data, test main only contains a file name starting with the test. If I give here how many files will get now?
one
Which one?
ODI data.
ODI data.
Okay. So because the only file 0 o like ODI data is only the file name that is starting with O. Okay. You can also try checking this starts with T. Now how many files will come?
Three.
One, sir.
So that you need to identify because we have given capital T.
Log T.
Yeah. Okay.
So no, so you just need to identify that whether you will get T20 data or else you also get a test data, test also you need to get. If it is a case sensitive, you will get only T20 data.csv. If it is not a case sensitive, if it is a case insensitive, you will also get test data, test CSV. That you can figure out. Okay. So that you can take as an exercise. Okay. So in this way, based on the condition we are giving, you will get the output like the files will be filtered out. So the filtered files we can give it to the copy activity. So this is the one function we have. In the same way, we have one more function that is we have ends with. Okay, there is one more functions like this ends with. So this basically will check with the ending letter. So it basically checking the where it is ending with. Suppose I want to pick only files that is ending with CSV. So all the files ending with CSV, this file, this file, this file, this file, this four files will is ending with CSV. So this only four files will be filtered out. Okay, and then JSON. So if I click on JSON, all the file names ending with the JSON, these two files are ending with the JSON, those files will be picked up. So this is also one of the important interview question you may ask in the interview. Is a scenario based question. Like they will ask you a question like I'm having a folder which contains a multiple files, like a multiple file formats also available, multiple file formats files are available, like CSV, JSON, Parquet, our files. There are a lot of file formats available. From out of all those files, I want to copy only the CSV file formats to the destination in a dynamic approach. So how can you do that? They will ask. So for that, the answer is first of all, we need to use the get data activity to read the metadata information of all the files. If you know the file names, we can give it to the filter activity, and in filter activity, we can have a condition like ends with the file name format like a CSV. If we give all the CSV file formats only will be filtered, and we can give all those files to the copy activity to copy the destination. That is the answer, right? So these kind of scenarios we may come across in the real time also, and also it is a very important interview question. Okay. So in such a way, we can filter the data either by using a starts with or by using a the ends with. We have some other thing also called contains with. Contains with basically will not check for starting with or ends with. Anywhere if we having this thing. Suppose if I give data, so the file name is having anywhere this word data, all those files will be picked up. Now if you see which are all the files you having a name as a data somewhere, anywhere, it can be starting, it can be ending, it can be middle, anywhere it should be having a like a data. So ODI data, so here you have data. T20 data CSV, here you have data. And test data that says here also you have data. So basically if you give contains data anywhere, if you're having a data, those files will be filtered. In such a way, we can use these conditions. So you have got the conditions, starts with, ends with, contains with. So this is a one of a conditions you will filter the data. Okay. Now, so let's come back to starts with. So we are talking about this one. Why like we are giving all the file names. These file, all the file names, we are not going to hard code. All these file names is coming dynamically from the get metadata activity and is already passed to the item. So we are not going to hard code it. So it is coming from item. Okay, from the item I want only name. So in the items we have two things, name and type. So type I don't want because type anywhere is a file. Our main thing is like to get the file name. So that is the reason we'll give item. From the item I want only name. How come the item came? This is the item. Okay, all these file names along with the file types are stored in the item. So from this item I want only name. I don't want type. So if I give item.type file comma file comma file comma file comma, this option will come. If I give item.name vdata.csv comma rt20 data.csv comma, all these file names will come. So that is the difference you need to identify. Okay, so that is the condition I'm writing here. So you won't get that function here. You need to go to the functions here. You need to search starts with. So immediately if click on the start function, the function name will come here. Now here we need to give the file names. We need to pass the file names. So file names, as I told, we can pass it dynamically item.name, comma. So I just want to bring the files, only the file names that are starting with the test. Okay, so I need to give that in the quotations. Okay, now see, if I miss to give any of the quotations something, it will throw as error. Okay, so make sure should not be any red marks. Now see, this condition is very clear. So starts with what? Starts with the file names. All the file names is having here item that name. So all the file names, any of the file name that is starting with the test only, I want to filter those files. That is the condition I'm giving here. Okay, just click on OK. So if you want to check whether the filter we are passing, how we are passing get data activity to get data activity output to the filter items, and how the condition is working, is everything is going fine or not. If you want to check that, you can right away use a debug option. You can test the what is the output you are getting. Okay, so you should not wait till the pipeline runs till you're giving to copy activity. You can right away run this and you can check whether you are getting an expected output or not. Okay, that is the benefit of having a debug. See, this is run get metadata output. We have already seen what it is giving. So it is giving only child items. Okay, and then we need to look into filter activity, whether it is filtering properly or not based on the condition we have given. Now see, total item count is 6, but out of this total item counts, so this is the total item counts. So child items are we have 6, that is the 6 we have given to the filter that it gets detected. So filter activity is getting 6 items, but out of those 6 items, it is filtering item count is 2. So out of those 6 items, it is filtering only 2. So what are those 2? Only these 2. Okay, let's copy this also. We'll paste here. This is filter output. Okay, now see values. It filtered these 2 values. So we have condition starts with test. So only 2 files that are starting with the name test. So that is the reason it gave only these 2. Now, if you observe the difference between get metadata activity output and filter activity output, in the get metadata activity output, we have child items. Inside the child items, all these names. But in the filter activity, we have values. So these values from here to here, it is holding this file name information. These values we can pass to the copy activity, so that copy will copy the data. Okay. Now, as I told, we can't directly copy these two file names at a time to the copy activity. So we need to iterate one by one item, then we can give it to the copy activity. Okay. So that is the reason I am going to use a for each activity just for iteration purpose. Okay. So we'll arrange it in order first. So on successful, I want to give it to the for each activity. Okay. Now let's open for each activity. So the same thing in general things, if you want to change this name for each activity name, we can change it here. And then settings. Settings, we have two options like either a batch count, either a sequential or batch count. As of now, we'll go to sequential. We will cover the difference between sequential batch in the upcoming sessions. As of now, I just given sequential. This is the place where I want to pass the filter activity output to the for each activity. Okay. So we have given get metadata activity output to the filter activity. Now we need to give filter activity output to the for each activity. So that is the reason we have this. Just click on this one, add dynamic content, see activity outputs. So we have here filter activity output. Activity dot filter dot output dot from the filter activity output, what we need to pass to the for each activity. These are the things we have in the filter activity output. So which one we need to pass to the for each activity? Any guess? From the for each from the filter activity output, which one we need to pass it to the for each activity? Item counts, filtered item count, value. Which one we need to pass?
Is it value?
Value. Value is the correct answer because value is storing the file names. See here. This is the file name. This is the file name. Starting from here to here, value is storing all this information. I don't want filter items count or output. So if I give output that items count, 6 will give as a output. If I give output dot filter items count, 2 it will get as a output. What I will do with these things? I can't do anything with this. I want filter activity output dot value so that these file names will come. These file names I can give it to the copy activity, right? So that is the reason you need to give output dot value. Okay. It's a capital V only. Okay. So in such a way, we are giving filter activity output to the for each activity. So where we are storing in the items. Again, it becomes an item. So item dot from item dot what I need to get item dot name or item dot type. If you want to pass only file name to the copy activity, what I want to get item dot name or item dot type. Item dot name if I take file name will come. Item dot type if I take this will come. So I don't want type, I want only item dot name. So we need to give item dot name to the copy activity. So now giving a get metadata activity output to the filter activity is easy. Giving the filter activity output to the for each activities is also easy. Simply we are giving Azure Data Factory dot filter activity name dot output dot. Here we are giving a get metadata child items. Here we are giving a values. But to pass the for each activity output to the copy activity is somewhat difficult. We will see how can we give that. So now copy activity we should not use here. We need to use the inside. See, inside it is asking to give the activities. So click on this pencil mark. So you will go inside for each activity. So all these things will happen inside the for each activity only. Okay, it should not happen outside the for each. So that is the reason we came inside the for each activity. Here I'm giving the copy activity. Okay. So now for filter we have items. So 2 items, we are passing the get metadata activity output. In the same way, for each activity is also having a items. So that is the reason we are passing the filter activity output to the for each activity. But copy activity doesn't have something called items to to pass the for each activity output here. So that is the reason we need to create a parameters. To that parameters only we need to pass the for each activity output. Okay, how can we do that? So for that thing we need to go to the source. As of now we don't have any data set created for source. This is the data set that is already available that we have created for metadata, get metadata activity. We cannot use the same data set here because for copy we are creating a parameters. To that parameters I'm going to pass the for each activity values. So that is the reason I'm going to create a new data set. Click on new data set. Our source is a blob. Can continue. File format. You can take CSV. I will name this as a data set for source. The same steps. Link service is same. Here also I won't select any of the file names. I will just select the input folder. So input folder, there are a lot of files. But out of all these files, what files I want to get? I want to get only the files that we have filtered out. So to this place, to the file name, I want to get these files. Testdata.csv. That file name will come here. And then testmain.csv. That file should come. So only those 2 files should come here. To this place, we need to pass the for each activity output. How can we pass it? That we want to see it now. So we can't pass it directly now here. First create a data set by having only input. After creating a data set, now open a data set. Okay. Now, so this input folder is having 6 files, but I don't want to get the 6 files. Whatever I have done till now, like reading the metadata information, filtering it, giving it to the for each activity for iteration purpose. From the for each active item, I want to get that output here. So how can I get output here? I can't give it directly here. First of all, I need to create a parameters. So there is an option called parameters. Click on parameters. I am getting this parameter for file name to bring the file name. So let's go to connection here. What are the parameter I have created here in this step? I am calling that parameter here. Okay. So I have created parameter here and I am calling the parameter here. Now, whatever the parameter we have created, so this will expect some value in the copy activity. Let's go to the copy activity. See, earlier we don't have any such option, but now it is asking the file name value. So to these, we need to pass the for each activity output. Okay. Yes, we don't have any such option like item here. We have created a parameter. To that parameter, we are going to pass the for each activity output. So for each activity output will come here. So this value will go dynamically to the file place so that from the input folder, that file will be copied to the destination. So in such a way, we'll do the things. Okay. Now, what I want from the for each activity output, this is the for each activity output. From the item, I just want only name. I don't want type. So that is the reason I'm giving item.name. So in that way, we are going to give the for each activity output to the copy activity. Okay, it is clear. Initially, it might be confusing to you, but if you keep on practice, it will be very easy. Okay, so at least you got some understanding now. So starting from get metadata activity, how the things are coming to the copy activity. So only 2 files are coming to the copy activity now. It is clear. Did you got some understanding now? Sneha, Prem, Prabhavati, Hema, Dinesh. Clear? Any doubts? Anyone has any doubts?
No.
Okay. So in this way, we are getting all the file names, like the filtered file names to the source. So these files we are going to give it to the sink. Sink also we don't have any data set created. You can directly create a data set to sink. So my sink is ALS Gen2. That is the reason we are selecting ALS Gen2, selecting a CSV files, and then we'll directly give it to the sink. Okay. To the output folder, you want to pass the values. That's it. Let me summarize the pipeline once again. So if there is a lot of files, if you want to filter the files based on the file name, so we need the metadata information of all the files. That is the reason by using a get metadata activity child items, we have read all the file names. Okay. Now once you have all the file names available, we are giving that of get metadata activity output to the filter activity, and we are writing a condition all the file names starting with the test only. I want to get those files. So it got filtered out 2 files. So those 2 files we are giving it to the filter activity output to the for each activity. So those 2 files are coming to the for each activity. Now for each activity is having all this in two files information. I want to give it to the copy activity. So as you don't have direct option to give it to the copy activity, we have created parameters. To that parameters we are passing those for each activity output here, so that those 2 file names information will come here. It will pass to the this place, and they are ready to copy. And as we are giving a sync, it will copy all those files to the sync. So that is the thing. Okay, debug. Okay, so now we have 2 options available here. Either I can use debug now, I can also use a trigger now option. So if I want to use a trigger now option, see pipeline is not found, it is asking please publish it. So if you want to use a trigger now option, I need to publish all the details first. Then I need to click on trigger now. So trigger now or debug anything will work. So only the difference is, so if you want to use the trigger now option, we need to publish all the things. If I all of a sudden, if I by mistakenly close this tab, all the work we have done till now is not saved. It will be gone. Okay. So for that reason, after publishing, we can use a trigger no option. But by using a debug option, so no publishing is required. We can directly run it. That is the difference. Okay. So right now I click the debug option. We'll see it is running. Okay. So it is running. Get metadata activity is successful. Filter activity is successful. For each activity and copy activity are running. Okay. It is copying all the items. Okay. See, it got succeeded. Everything is successful. Now let's go to the output. See, these 2 files only came out of all those files. Okay, you can also try another filter conditions like instead of starts with, you can simply put here ends with. Okay, instead of this, you can put ends with. Okay, you can also put with contains. It's not contains, contain. You can search here what exactly it is. Contains. Okay, CONTAINS. It's not like this contains. Okay, so you can explore those two options. Okay, so that's it for today. If anyone has any questions, you can ask. So this is what we have. This is what we have. Parameters we have used. Dataset parameters we have used. That is used to pass the values externally at pipeline level. Okay. So if you want like the descriptive information about the activities we have used, this is what we have. Get metadata activity is to retrieve the metadata information. Filter activity is basically filter the an array, and for each activity is for iteration purpose. Okay. Now we can see the difference. So without publishing a pipeline, we cannot run a trigger. But in debug, without publishing a pipeline, we can run the debug. Also, debug will help us to run the pipeline partially and will give the outputs. Okay, so this is what we have for today. If we have any questions, you can ask, or else we can end the session. That's it for today. Okay, if no questions, that's it for today. Thanks everyone.